Hello there folks, welcome back to my YouTube channel and to a very short tutorial on how to create a very simple timer, and also in a maybe even in a more professional approach, a bit more optimized than what most common ideas will be as. Okay, so I actually created here an event, and this is typically the timer most people would hint you towards. Okay, so you have a loop, and it's kind of ironical that you have a loop in a parallel event, because the parallel event already loops all of this. And in your loop you have wait 1 second, you increment a variable, and it's gonna do that until you need to, let's say in this case 60 seconds. Then you make the number of seconds 0 so that it starts all over, and you have a minute, right? When you have 60 minutes, you're gonna make minutes 0 again, and you're gonna have 1 hour, right? And so on and so forth. Okay, now I doubt you'll ever need to wait a whole hour, right? That's, I don't know, I can't call it bad design, but if you really have to make an event wait like a real life full hour, that's, I don't know, like you could actually have it wait 5 minutes instead or something like that. Honestly, and in my case, out of my own opinion, right, how can I call it, as of my way of designing events, honestly I wouldn't use a timer at all. Okay, this thing is kind of hideous. Okay, it's not bad programming, but you have a loop, you have conditionals, you have global variables, and all of these actually have to be checked again and again and again and again, and it takes so much more time. Okay, this is only good if you have something that constantly checks this timer, and if it is a certain time, if it is a certain time, if it is a certain time. Okay, if X amount of minutes have passed, then check this or do that. Okay, this may sound a bit more towards the complexity that I'm building in one of my projects with a real, well, almost real life timer that's gonna guide events around, and if it's a certain time, then they will perform certain actions and such. It's a lot of complexity in that. Yes, you may need a timer like this, but you'll be surprised most people will do this even for, I don't know, 10 seconds, like wait 1 second, increment a variable, when 10 seconds have passed, then continue with the events, right? What I would do honestly is this. Okay, I add a game, like a box, okay, that says time sticking, okay, a text box. This is the equivalent of show text, if you want to have just a plain text without any actor face and such. Let's say I add an exclamation mark on the head of the player, and the timer will only begin after the player has closed this text box. And in here I have 60 frames equal 1 second, so in here we wait 10 seconds. That's it, right? And then when the timer is off, you turn the switch off for this event as well, right? And let's say you also show a heart over the player when the timer is up, because let's say the player has succeeded in doing something. I don't know exactly, but you can figure that out, right? This is much better because you don't have loops, you don't have anything else that can make your code look even worse, look hideous, and always have to constantly check this, that again, this other one point, this other conditional and such, and it's kind of gonna consume more resources. Okay, if you have a simple game, which usually it's not my case, it's not gonna be much of a trouble. If you have more complex ideas like me, and there's always all sorts of things that can happen in the meantime, you're gonna need to do something simpler like this. Okay, especially if you don't need to check how much of the timer has been gone, right? Now what if you actually have to wait 1 whole minute before the player can actually move on? Well, instead of 600 frames, you can use 900, right? Now 900 frames equal 15 seconds, and 15 seconds times 4 means 1 minute, right? No need to increment variables and check conditions through conditions different values. Okay, what if you need to wait 5 minutes? Well, you can actually copy paste this other 4 times, so that you have 5 minutes, this one plus the other 4 copies. You have like 1 2 3 4. Okay, you have 5 minutes in here. Or if you're doing this in an event that is bound by the map, Okay, so you have this event, right, which is bound by the map, right? It is not a common event. If you have something like this, you can actually use a script instead, and you can say script this dot wait, and in here you're gonna add how many frames you want it to wait. If you have 1 minute, then you have 60 seconds, and a second is 60 frames. 60 times 60 equals 3600. Okay, that's how you have a minute. What if you want 5 minutes? Well, you go to the good old calculator and you say 13600 times 5, and you have 18,000. Okay, so you have 18,000. Okay, now it's gonna wait 5 minutes. What if we have 3600? Okay, this is 1 minute. If you want to wait a whole hour, well, times 60, you have this, which I calculated before, and you actually put it in here. But make sure that the event that triggers this is parallel, so that you know the event itself will have to wait that, because if it is common, if it is action button or player touch or event touch, that's gonna force your player to wait that much, and you wouldn't want that most likely. Okay, so all this being said, hopefully you like this idea. Again, the difference is you only need this one if you need to check constantly or several times how much of the time it's gone. This I only would use for you know, like real life clock, you know, a clock system. A day-night system is not something I would recommend because it is too complex in a way, even if you can use it as a parallel event, right? And it goes on because switches are global. You turn it switch on, and irrespective of which map you go to, it's gonna stay on. My games won't be using that day and night cycle necessarily. I have my own ideas for the day and night to simply switch through without this without having even a background timer, because you know, I want to focus myself on visual elements, okay, on visual processes. Okay, all this being said, hopefully you liked this idea. This is kind of the you know, more accessible timer for me, because it's, you know, much more accessible to me. I don't need to use as many variables as possible. I used to, but I realized that I could do something like this. So all this being said, feel free to like and subscribe if you like the type of content that I'm creating. Feel free to ask me for advice if you have a game demo that you want someone to test, and I will test it and provide you some value for that. I've actually done this for a game called Panacea. You can actually watch those videos if you're interested in seeing how much value or what kind of value I provide. So all this being said, take care of yourself, happy RPG making, and again, I'm open to any questions you might have about RPG Maker or spirituality, dream interpretation, or things like this. Take care of yourself. You are loved and appreciated. Ferenc on board, signing out.